Don't be a boob. For more videos like this one, please subscribe to this channel.
Hello, Malika Andrews. You just walked out of the Eric Spoelstra press conference here. What is the Heat status for both Goran Dragic and Bam Adebayo?
Both of those guys, Nicole, are going to be out for Game 3 here. The good news, if you want to call it that, is where last game neither of those guys warmed up. Bam Adebayo was out on the court just a couple of minutes ago.
Clearly wanting to be out there and clearly needed by the Heat. So essentially we're going into Game 3 with the Heat in the same situation that they were in Game 2, which didn't really affect Jimmy Butler's confidence. He had like a guarantee that the Heat were going to win that game. What is the tone in that Heat locker room now, though?
Well, Jay Crowder said this morning that they're a really focused group. They had a film session earlier today, and that was the tone around that ticked to beat the Los Angeles Lakers. He said they haven't done that yet, and they're going to need to do so soon, or else he said it's not going to be pretty. Soon is tonight, immediately. They can't afford to lose another game here, Nicole.
You touched on the family aspect coming from Spoelstra, and he's been vocal about how much he is behind these guys, how much of the determination and the grit and the we are still going to win a game in this series is actually coming from him.
Well, that's the identity of this locker room. So I think Spoelstra feeds these guys, and the team also feeds Eric Spoelstra. They've rallied around that identity of we don't give a bleep what anybody else thinks. That's what Eric Spoelstra told me after the last game. We don't care what anyone is saying about us. We are not looking at the statistical odds. We have been doubted all season. And so while they don't want to be looked at as the underdogs, Jimmy Butler told me that that's not how he characterizes this team. He likes to just think of them as a really good group of basketball players. They have to embrace that identity to a certain extent because they are not the favorites in this series. They are rallying behind that. We don't care what anyone else thinks. We just need to go out there and get the job done.
Does that make us like a really good group of people who are good at TV?
100%.
That's how we think of ourselves at the time, too. Game 3 of the NBA Finals, 7:30 Eastern on ABC. Keep in mind the Lakers do have a 2-0 series lead. Thanks, Malika.
Malika Andrews from the Orlando bubble. I know, Malika, you've been covering the Heat for the entirety of this time. I'm sure that Jimmy Butler's will to win and his leadership is absolutely no surprise to you. But last night, he was so aggressive offensively. What did he have to say about his performance?
Well, this should also be no surprise to those who've been watching Jimmy's post-game press conferences. He said, we won. That's all that matters. He said, I hope that in the next game I score 0 points and somebody else goes. He also guaranteed, you know what? We're going to come out and compete. We are not going to lay down. We are going to tie this series at 2-2. Take that with a grain of salt because he also guaranteed a win in Game 2. But that sort of confidence that he had in that performance is contagious in this locker room.
He is really showing the rest of the NBA what he's all about. Now, is he going to get some help? Because Bam Adebayo and Goran Dragic missed last night's game due to their injuries. Obviously, he did get help from Olynyk and Tyler Hero and the like, but these two guys are so critical. What can you tell us about whether or not they'll be available for Game 4?
Well, what I keep hearing from Heat sources, Hannah, is that Goran Dragic is farther away than Bam Adebayo is to returning because, remember, Goran would have to make the decision with the medical team to play on an injury, whereas Bam Adebayo's injury is a strain, and that could mean he could recover enough, have enough mobility, be pain-free enough to take the court. And what is a potentially good sign for the Heat is that yesterday, even though Bam was ruled out, I saw him on the court warming up before Game 3, getting some shots up. That's not something he was able to do before Game 2. And so Eric Spoelstra told me that there is no firm timetable on when Bam could return, but it's trending in a positive direction. And also, we are expecting Bam and Goran both to speak to reporters today in a little over an hour for the first time since they were injured. So we're going to hear straight from them how they are doing and what they expect is their timeline to return.
I will be hearing from them on SportsCenter, Malika. Listen, if one thing the Heat have proven, both really in Game 2 loss and also last night, they can score on the Lakers. Malika Andrews, thank you. Goran Dragic still listed as doubtful, but we've heard that Bam Adebayo has been upgraded to questionable for tonight's Game 4 as they look to tie the series. What's the latest you can tell us about his status?
Well, Hannah, it's certainly more likely that Bam Adebayo takes the court tonight in Game 4 than Goran Dragic. Bam said yesterday, in his first time speaking to reporters since he hurt himself in Game 1, that really this decision is up to the medical staff. He is ready to go, he said, as soon as they say yes. I've been told by a team source that he was getting treatment well into last night. And here's the deal, Hannah. This has been incredibly difficult for Bam. Eric Spoelstra has told us multiple times that he's been lobbied so hard by Bam Adebayo to get back out on the court because Bam knows that size is an advantage for the Lakers. So Bam is trying as hard as he can to get back out there, and it is certainly as close as he's ever been, per that injury report, to being able to play again.
It must be so tough. Here you are in your first finals, unable to play. You can just hear the frustration in his voice. Something else that hasn't been easy for you and everyone else in the bubble. This marks your 100th day in the bubble. Now, there's only 4